This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Great to be joined today by the head coach of the Ohio Bobcats, Jeff Boals. And Coach, you and I were just saying before we hopped on here how crazy it is that it's already February 11th. It feels like just yesterday you and I were sitting down right after practice in the preseason and talking about what this season was going to look like. And now here we are with just a few games left in the regular season. I appreciate you joining me this morning. How's everything going with you?
Yeah, number one, thanks for having me on. And hard to believe it's February 11th, but everyone's in the thick of it, right? I think we got 6 games left in league play. I think most others have 7. We have a bye today, like Miami does. A couple others in our league, but it's kind of money time now, right? You're positioning for the tournament seeding and hoping to get a March.
When I saw that you guys had a bye, I was like, all right, I got to take this opportunity to get Coach Boals on because, Miami has a bye. You guys have a bye. This whole week is building up to the Battle for the Bricks on Friday night, ESPN, 9:00, which obviously everybody listening to this has already, heard about for the last few days. But from your guys' perspective, I'm curious to ask what the last couple of weeks have been like for you. I know you've dealt with some injury issues, but also just in general, what you guys feel like heading into this one.
Yeah, we feel like we're getting better as the season's gone on. We lost a couple tough ones. Play had a tough schedule, like a stretch in the MAC play where a lot of teams in our league have. And if you look at our league, you got Miami, obviously, Akron, Kent, and then 4 through 13, is kind of jumbled up, and anybody can meet anybody. And I think for everybody this time, you're trying to get in that top 8 and make the tournament and see what happens.
Yeah, looking back at the beginning of the year, obviously, tough start 1-6, but then all of a sudden you rattle off some wins between December 3rd and January 10th, and you only have 1 loss in there. What did you find in that stretch that helped you turn your season around?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we played a tough schedule, probably the toughest non-conference schedule in our league. Played, I think, 5 teams that didn't have football, which makes a difference in today's, basketball world from a rev share standpoint, and played some really good teams. If you look at the record of the teams we played. So we had to get through that storm, which we knew, could have went either way. And then I think we won maybe 10 of 11, and then lost a few in there. So I think what we've been doing, is good. We got to get better, obviously, continue to get better. Got a great opportunity Friday night, like you mentioned, against Miami, who's playing, as good as anybody in the country right now. So it'll be a tough challenge, but great opportunity for our program.
Javen Simmons is somebody that we talked to. He gave us a tour of the facility, campus, all that when we were there in the summer. And Aiden Hadaway and Jackson Pavletsky, obviously big contributors, this year for you guys. So can you just talk about those 3 and how well they're playing coming into this one?
Yeah, I mean, those 3 kind of been, the 3 that kind of lead us. Hadaway inside out, Javen inside, and Pav kind of setting the table. And a lot of times as those 3 go, we go. And they're going to be a big piece of what we're trying to do on Friday. And we obviously play really well.
You guys, you're 86th in tempo on KenPom. Miami obviously loves to get up and down the floor. They love to run. They love to shoot a lot of threes. How do you think this game on Friday sets up stylistically for you guys?
Yeah, I think both teams want to get up and down. We're good in transition when we get out and go. And, I think, Miami's kind of, you'd think as much as they're scoring that they're just helter-skelter, go, go, go. But that's not the case. They're probably the most efficient team in the country. You look at their percentages from 2, they're astronomical. Obviously, at certain points, they got 5 guys who can make threes out there. And they put so much pressure at the rim where they get to the free throw line. They're making almost 20 points per game at the foul line. So, not so much their tempo, but their efficiency is just skyrocketed.
Sure. You look at some of the success that you've had. Obviously, you start 4-1 in the MAC, and like you said, there's a tough stretch in there. But you win 2 out of 3 coming into this game, and in the MAC, you've won 2 in a row. You lost that game on Saturday to Old Dominion, but they're a non-conference opponent. Did you like playing that on Saturday? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I don't think I think no coach in our league, maybe Miami because they got the bus, but you talk to Western, they had trouble getting to where they're going. I think Texas State maybe. We were delayed heading down to Norfolk. Akron had a flight to Atlanta and then 3-hour bus ride over. And I think at that point in the season, it's hard travel, to get to where you want to get to, unless you play Marshall, where it's a bus drive. But I think if you ask everybody in the MAC, we'd like to probably play 1 game a year at the start of the year and then flip-flop at the next year. Just kind of tough in travel in February, getting where you want to get to.
Yeah, I was going to kind of follow up on that by asking I've obviously heard from, just some different people here and there of wondering whether, maybe that date, whether you could do like one of those old bracket buster games where maybe you play another team in the MAC, right? Where you just get assigned a game against a conference opponent that maybe helps you going into the rest of the season. Is that something that you thought about, or do you like, potentially just restructure, but you like playing that non-conference game?
Yeah, I think the one non-conference game is good. We're going to 22 league games next year, so and everybody in the country is going to 32 games. Increasing about 1. So, there's some opportunities out there, and going to 22 league games and still having Sun Belt tied in there. That's 24 of your games, locked in. I don't think it's changing the next couple of years, so it's kind of a moot point.
Sure. Yeah. So looking at the rest of this season, Coach, you have, like you said, 6 regular season games left. Miami this game on Friday night, but you play Miami twice the rest of the way. There's some winnable games in there: Ball State, Northern Illinois, UMass, Toledo, the rest of them. How do you think this schedule sets up for OU down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, we're not good enough to look ahead. I think for us, the biggest game's the next game in our schedule, like most coaches think and operate. And like I said, in this league, 4 through 13, it's a dogfight. And you even look at Miami. I mean, their leadership and what they've been doing, their confidence. They've won a lot of close games in MAC play, recently. So I think you got to bring it for 40 minutes. If you overlook anybody, you're probably not winning that game.
Coach, I know you're an OU guy through and through. I know this rivalry means a lot to you. It's a very heated rivalry. It's one that both sides care a lot about, and it's one that both sides really desperately want to win. What does this because this game means more. This game means more, and you're going to play it twice the rest of the way. What does this game really mean?
Yeah, I've been fortunate, to be in a lot of rivalry games: Ohio State, Michigan, Marshall, West Virginia, University of Charleston, West Virginia State. And, this is the best one I've been involved in as a player, as a coach. And, there's still Miami guys I talked to when I played: Mike Ensminger, John McKenna, Landon Hackham, those guys. We had some dog fights, home and away. And, just the memories that I have from coaching and playing are awesome. And I think what Miami's doing right now helps, with the rivalry. And, back when I played, it was a sellout here, it was a sellout there. And, those are the type of atmospheres you want to play in.
Sure. Last question for you, Coach. Is there somebody on your side? Is there somebody that you feel like has stepped up, has made a difference that maybe you weren't expecting coming into the season, that it has really been a game changer for you?
Yeah, J.J. Kelly's really made a big jump, as a freshman. He's not playing like a freshman. The just game by game, week by week, month by month, he's gotten better and better and better. And obviously missing Elijah Elliott really hurts us. We were expecting him to be a starter this year for us, with his athleticism and defense. But JJ's kind of stepped into that role.
Yep. Coach, I appreciate you taking some time this morning to talk, and hopefully see you Friday, and good to catch up with you.
I appreciate you, my man.
Yep.